Hello and welcome to the Mission City Podcast. In today's session, we wanted to talk about the roles of our campus pastors. We realize that each church does things in their own way, and so it'd be helpful to understand what is the function of a campus pastor here at Mission City. Personally, I love hearing about what people do in various ministry roles, so I hope you find this as insightful as I did. Let's go ahead and get into today's session.
Hey, Dave. Good morning, man. I'm excited to be on the podcast with you again today. What's the topic we're going to talk about?
So today was campus pastor and their roles at Mission City. Yeah. So I thought Chuck was going to be back this week. He was like recovering.
Oh, yeah. You know, well, Dave, I thought he'd be back too. I'm really not sure why he isn't here.
Oh, hey, come on. What is It's a campus pastor role. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
it's good to be back, man.
It's good to have you back.
I'm here.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I got to keep it pretty centered with my head. So,
all right. Well, tell us about the recovery process for you and stuff.
Well, it's been interesting. You know, if you've seen me around campus at all, I've got a neck brace that I have to wear most of the time. I'm actually supposed to be wearing a neck brace now, but Cheryl, if you're watching, I'm sorry.
I tried to tell him, Cheryl.
You know, I keep it in neutral. I'm good. No, we're good. Everything's great. It's been a good recovery. Still got a few more weeks of wearing the brace when I'm up and about or riding around the car. But as long as I can keep my head pretty centered, I'm good.
Well, it's good. Well, it's good to have you back.
We've
had some good podcasts while you were out. I don't know if you got to watch any of them.
You did.
With all that busyness you had, right, while you're laying around recovering.
I think I was critiquing every one of them pretty good. I've got a whole list of critiques.
Of do's and don'ts?
No, but actually, you guys did a great job. Don was awesome. It was great to hear Matt and mission and vision of Mission City. And then, you know, I haven't really got a chance to listen too much of the most recent one with Justin. Yeah. I know it released. It's releasing today as we're recording, and it was, I'm sure that's going to be great. So I'm looking forward to kind of getting caught back up into this whole process again.
Yeah. You probably feel like this is your first one again.
Like, what do I don't know what to do with my hands sort of thing. You know, I'm excited about it.
No, we're glad to have you back. And so as you mentioned, today we're talking about the role of the campus pastor when it comes to Mission City, because the truth of the matter is every church that has multi-sites, they do things differently. And so some churches, when they do multi-site, all their multi-sites are basically church plants. So what they do is they go into a place where maybe they're not reaching very many people, and they sort of start, almost from zero, sort of. And maybe they have some people in their congregation they ask to go to get it going or something like that. Mission City and our vision that the Pastor Matt and the elders have sort of laid out is we more are looking at the heat map of where our people are and sort of where there's not a lot of churches or there's not a lot of evangelism or something in a certain area. And so the first one was actually the Northwest, where you're out at. And so you were out there at the dance hall first, and then got to move into the.
And I would argue that my role is, it's a completely different role at the dance hall. Of course, I wasn't there very long. I got hired when I came on staff. We were at the dance hall just a couple months. I started in June. Right. We were June, July. By mid-August, by the end of July, we were actually in the new building.
Yeah, because y'all just celebrated your 1 year.
Right.
Anniversary in the new building a couple weeks ago.
So really, it almost feels like the campus pastor role changed. Like 2 months in, I'm like, it's a different role, because we had I think 350 in attendance at that time, and now we're upwards of 1,300. So there's a lot of differences in what I'm called on to do. But ultimately, the role is really just about being a part of sharing and implementing the mission vision that Pastor Matt and the elders have. And that's what we want to. That's always what we want to do, is make sure we're aligned with, number one, with what God wants us to do, and then
absolutely,
and then the mission and vision.
Well, as you said,
Pastor Matt and the elders.
Their vision. And a couple weeks ago, you mentioned that we had Pastor Matt on, and he was talking about vision and upper room and lower room thinking. And one of the things about Mission City is there is a percentage of people at both campuses that will move into the third campus, wherever that might be. And so we may take a little bit of a hit in attendance. And I know that might, some people are like, man, we had, like you said, 1,300 and we had 800 and something. And people are like, man, now we're at 500. It's like, not really, because they're still at Mission City and we are still a part of, the kingdom of God. We're not trying to grow Mission City's kingdom. We're trying to grow the kingdom of God. And so that's that.
I ultimately think we've got to cheerlead for each other.
Absolutely. We tease each other with some competition.
And I am super competitive. I think
it comes from both of us having a sports background a little bit. And
I'm super competitive, but the ultimate, at the end of the day, we just want Mission City to be reaching the lost, and it doesn't matter where they are.
Right.
And we've been called into the city of San Antonio in the outlying areas, in particular our Northwest corridor, to see God transform. To engage people where they are with the gospel of Jesus Christ, and however that gets done. And so if there's a third campus and a third of our people start attending that,
celebrate.
We're going to absolutely celebrate that, because we want to see what God does with. We almost like they're missionaries being sent to start a new
Somebody
campus.
asked me that. They go, how many people went from Central over to Northwest? I went, I don't know.
Very few, I think.
I was like, I don't know. It really, and the good thing is they're there now. They're under the same leadership, the same teaching, kind of a thing. And so it's really interesting, though, whenever you think about the campus pastor role, because as I mentioned, some churches, it's very different. I know that over the years, I've talked to some churches about coming on and being a campus pastor at other places, and their roles look a lot different. Some places it means that the campus pastor guy preaches live every single week. Sometimes it's not preaching, but it's more of the administrative side of things.
The manager.
Sort of this looking at just the finance part or those things. And really here at Mission City, we're going to talk about what campus pastor looks like here, not so much what other churches do. And don't just take this, if you're at a multi-site church, doesn't mean your campus pastor does that there, but this is what we're going to talk about us. So if somebody came to you, Chuck, said, what exactly is your role as campus pastor at Northwest? What would your response be to them?
Well, of course, when we were hired, we were given a list of these are our responsibilities. This is what a campus pastor does, and I think it'd be boring just to outline that. Yeah. But I think is how I see it is I'm really, it's not much different than what I came from. It's a chance to coach people. And it's a chance to encourage people. And we talked about, you're going to talk about it in Man Church today. We talked about it in Man Church this morning. We got to, being their coach is being an encourager and being a person that your people, the people that come to church week in and week out can look to as someone who can provide some care and some love and just encouragement to, but also how we get to manage staff, we get to oversee ministry, we get to see the execution of what the mission and vision and values of Mission City, in globally what it is, but we get to see it for our specific campus, student ministry. Get to oversee and see what that looks like and manage that whole process, manage the process of what happens in kids ministry, and really just be champion those people in those positions to go out and just take it and do well and take ground for the kingdom. Right. I think that's really what our role is.
Yeah, I tell people all the time. So Pastor Matt and the elders, and Don, as they lay out, Don is our executive pastor, lays out these visions. Particularly Pastor Matt sees the vision here, but we're here,
right?
And so our job is to march the ball down the field, sort of like you mentioned coaching. You got a head coach. It's like, we're going to score a touchdown. Yeah. And so the offense coordinator is like, okay, so we've got to do these things. And then the quarterback coach does this and so forth. And so that's a good analogy of that. And so
Pastor Matt talked about blocking and tackling in his when he was here on the podcast. Mm-hmm. We get to do the blocking and tackling. for the mission and vision that's going on. And I think that's what's exciting is we're in the game, daily in the game, with what's happening on our campus.
Well, what I love about the vision that Pastor Matt has, and he said this, he's like, sometimes I think we get way too much credit. He goes, because basically it's pretty simple when you look at what we're charged with from Matthew 28, 18 through 20. This is go therefore make disciples,
right.
you know. It just says to go, and for churches, God honors those things when you just desire to reach people with the hope of Jesus Christ. And as you said, meet people where they are with the gospel of Jesus Christ, leading them into lives of transformation. And so we get this opportunity. You mentioned student ministry, kids ministry, life groups. Yeah. You know, we just kind of revamped life groups and really have a push toward life groups being really the center of a lot of things that we do here at Mission City, where people minister to one another, do life together, encourage one another. They're there at the hospitals whenever times are tough. They weep together, but they celebrate together, and they get into God's Word together. It goes beyond the Bible study. And so getting to be a part of starting new life groups and sending those out and doing all those things is just one of those things that allows us to champion that vision, as you talked about.
Yeah, and I think that's part of why I enjoy doing what I do so much, because it's really not, it's not, like I said, it's not much different than what I came from. Right. You know, you've been in the church world a little longer than I have, and so you probably came in with some preconceived ideas of what a campus pastor role was, and I came in, you know, like I know when Pastor Matt said, hey, we'd love for you to come on board, I was super excited because I thought I was going to maybe be a facilities guy. I had no idea what really
You're not
I was
qualified.
being called.
Those guys
to
are
do.
way smarter than us.
Like really? You want me to do what? You know, and but the more I've been in the role, the more I see the role as just getting to coach people. That's
well, I know really
that's
what it is from a minister, you know, from my standpoint, what it meant was I get to pastor the staff, so that they can pastor our people, because we've grown to the point to where I can't hit every single. I mean, of course, you know, I get to see people every single week, and we get to baptize, and you know, I've had D groups and things like that. But really, what I try and do is be a pastor to the staff that God has entrusted. You mentioned as a coach, pastor, sort of the same thing, to encourage, to disciple, to pray together, to talk the ideas out, and help develop them so that they can, you know, understand the vision. You know, we get the vision communicated to us, and then we communicate it to them in our words, you know, so to speak. So probably for you, there's less yelling as a pastor as there was as a coach.
I mean,
you probably don't get to yell as much, right?
No, my voice has been saved a little bit. It's not as raspy as it used to be. I used to sound really like a coach, but now it's a lot better. Yeah,
I thought it was smoker's cough, but it's smoker's voice. Yeah, that's what Hannah, my daughter, said. Does he smoke? I was like, no, he was a coach, and he yelled. She went, oh, yeah, because she's around my...
I used to be able to sing, believe it or not, but now
Is that right?
Now I don't even
I'll have to ask Cheryl about that. But, so, you know, that's the thing about getting to be the campus pastor, is getting to work with the staff that we get to work with. And I get excited every single time I get to meet with our staff. They're doing such a great job at both campuses, growing those ministries, and just being an encourager to them and discipling them and helping them sort of move the ball down the field is really a big part of what we get to do as campus pastor. But specifically, is there some other things that surprised you maybe coming into this role from, I mean, this is really, I know you've been in church and you've served as a deacon and, you know, elder or whatever in churches and as a super duper volunteer and everything. But now, super duper, now you get to see behind the curtain. And that's one of the things that we talk to people about when they come on staff at the church for the first time. You're seeing sort of behind the curtain of things, the magic show and how it happens, you know, or the secret sauce, you know, kind of a thing. Was there surprises for you? Was there some things you had to reconcile? You know, share a little bit of that if you don't mind.
Well, I know that I came from being a coach, like we've beaten that horse to death, coaching world, but you work, you know, 80, 90 hours a week during season. And I thought, I'm not going to have to work 80 hours a week. Wrong.
Yeah.
It's oftentimes 80 hours a week because, you never know. I mean, there's just so many things that go on in the course of a week with meetings and meeting people and directing ministry and then really just, trying to provide oversight to the ministries that you've been entrusted with. I'm not at students every Sunday or every Wednesday night, but I like to be in come once in a while. I want Theo and Olivia, and just like you want JT and Morgan, to have some freedom without their boss hanging over their shoulder. But you do got to have to inspect what you expect, and we've been both blessed that we have great people that do a great job. But at the same time, there's some hours that you got to put in.
Right.
There's some a lot of things that happen. People come to a church on Sunday and it just happens.
Right.
It doesn't just happen.
Yeah. There's a lot that went into.
There's a lot.
That. I show up and our worship team's already been here an hour, and I get here like at 7:45. They've already been here an hour preparing to lead and worship. And so I walk in, see them on the stage. They've got here before me. Now you're a lot earlier riser than I am.
I am a way earlier riser.
So
I was supposed to say 7:45.
I'm up till midnight, whereas you're in bed, after Wheel of Fortune's over, you're in bed. So, what's that, 7 o'clock? So.
Yeah, that was more like my dad. Yeah. No, I mean, it's just, I think we there's hours to put in. But it's not a grind. I can tell you that just from the world I came in was a much more of a grind. I have found greater joy in doing what I'm doing. I feel like God, where you're at, where you're called to be there. If you find that peace and that joy in the work that happens on a daily basis. And I've got great staff, just like you do. I've got, I can't even go any further without mentioning Sharon Brooks and the work that she does on our campus. And she keeps me in check. She is the ultimate organizer in terms of just taking care of our campus and all the things that have to happen. She keeps me on track. So I feel almost like she leads me at times, but she just does an amazing job and makes my role so much better. And I know you've got some great people over here as well.
Yeah, Janice and Missy are definitely, you already mentioned JT and Morgan, so Janice and Missy are really a blessing. Most of the time she reminds me what's on my calendar and everything, because I'm not the most organized guy. I'm the pastoral guy. I don't have to be organized, right? Yeah. And when I was in secular world, I was sales guy. So those guys aren't known, as being a sales guy is not really known for organization. So it's great that we are also need to make sure we recognize our strengths and weaknesses. A lot of men struggle with recognizing their weaknesses. And if we're going to have a successful ministry, whether you're the campus pastor, the student pastor, the kids pastor, whether you're the lead pastor, executive pastor, whatever that might be, you really have to dig in and look in the mirror and say, you know what, I need to recognize the places where that I'm weak, and I need to surround myself not only with the people that help strengthen me, but the people that can fill in the gaps where I'm weak. And that's what's helped me as campus pastor, having those people around me that are like, okay, Dave doesn't know how to tie his shoes. He'll fall down if I don't tie him for him. So they tie him, and then I can go down the road, kind of a deal. I can tie my shoes. I just don't like to.
Barely.
So, barely. As long as I don't have to chew gum at the same time, right?
Yes.
So that's always good for whatever role you're in ministry, is to go, okay, I know what my strengths are. I know the things. And years ago, both of us loved baseball, and I was reading the autobiography of Pete Rose years ago, and before the scandals, and he was disgraced and everything. But when I read that, he talked about guys in sports always liked to work at the things they were good at. And so, because it was fun, I'm good at this. And so, but Pete Rose, what he talked about was that he struggled with fielding and different things like that. And so he would spend 85 to 90% of his time working on his fielding and less time hitting, which you would think it would be the other way around.
I love being in the batting cage,
he's the great,
dingers all the time.
Yeah, but that's not what, what's going to make it to that level. And so he was like, I recognized early on, if I was going to be successful, I had to be better at the things that I'm not good at. And so that's one of the things as our weaknesses, we have to recognize those things and put those people around us.
Right. What kind of campus pastor are you? What do you think? You think that, I kind of feel like I fall in the sort of manager, like I like to manage process, manage people, not hired to come on and preach. I don't really feel like that's my greatest skill set, but managing people, managing process, encouraging people. What do you think? What kind of campus pastor do you feel like maybe you are?
I think mine is God's allowed me several years in the role of pastoral ministry, mostly as a lead pastor. I spent my first 4 years in the ministry as a student, pastor, working under Pastor Matt, 20-something years ago. And then I went to pastor, and I was a lead pastor from 2003 till 2021. And so for 18 years, I preached Sunday morning, Sunday night, and usually did a Wednesday night Bible study, for a long time. And so coming on here, I knew going in I wasn't going to be preaching very often. I get to do man church and preach every now and then on a Sunday morning. But that really wasn't what Matt wanted me to do. What Matt wanted me to come on as sort of in a pastoral role. And so I see myself as a pastor, not that I'm saying that you're not, but when I think of pastoral, I like to meet the guests that come in. I like to reach out to them during the week, shoot them a text and let them know how glad we were. I like to disciple men. Mm-hmm. I like to encourage our staff. I like to meet with them. And I meet with all of them every week and just have, those people around me. So I see myself in that pastoral type role, even when I'm going to life groups and talking to them. And a lot of people, when they think, well, you mean pastoral means going in and doing hospital visits. I mean, I did that for over, for 20 years. Right. Dave George does most of that for me here at the Central Campus.
Yeah, he was there. He was there for me when I.
Yeah, he was there when my wife had her surgery.
He beat me to the hospital.
I told you he was going to. You didn't think he was, but he was there when me and my wife got there. And so Dave is excellent in the hospital. Dave is excellent at the nursing home and so forth, and encouraging those people. And so I get a chance to work with Dave and be a part of that team as well. But pastoral side, I guess, would be where I feel like more of what my role is.
Yeah, I think that's where I've had to get the reps. I really feel like a lot of the follow-up that's required with people, and I've never really had to do that beyond just, in small ways, following up with parents during the course of a season. But the real follow-up, the real pastoral care is something that I've had to really work to develop and ask God to kind of help me develop that muscle, because that has not ever been really innate within me. I've been more of like, hey, let's get a job done. Let's take care of business. We have a role to play. Let's get all of our fielders in the right positions. Let's get our people and let's go perform. Right. And so what I've really had to learn and what I've really had to work to develop is those skills with people, the follow-up. I've always felt like I was a good people person. Right. But
that's a big part.
From a pastoral sense, kind of like what you talk about, the follow-up, the really pouring into people's walk, that's been new for me. Right. And it's been a lot of fun. Those are the ground balls that you take to get better. And for me, that's just what I've enjoyed doing. And we've had great people working with me on that, and just being able to spend time with you, because I get to learn from you on how you do that, and then and Dawn and Pastor Matt as well, and just to experience some of that follow-up. So I know that those are the areas I've got to get better in. But a lot of the blocking and tackling process, man, that's like right up my alley. Those are the things I really love to do in this job.
Yeah. So it's been fun talking about it. It's been great having you back.
It's good to be back.
We'll probably make another podcast one of these days more about campus pastors.
Yeah, we're at 22 minutes already. That's hard to believe.
Yeah, times went by pretty quick. But I've enjoyed having you back. Glad that you're here.
It's good to be back, Dave.
And we will see y'all next week. God bless y'all.
See you next week.
Thank you so much for listening to the Mission City Podcast. If you like this, then hit the like button down below and leave a comment about what was your favorite insight from today's session. If you hit this button, then it'll take you to another one of our great sessions that you can listen to right now. And if you hit this button, then you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and be notified when the next session is released. Thank you again for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next week.